Australia released 102 toads in 1935. Today, their descendants number over 200 million, and they kill crocodiles. This is what a biological invasion really looks like. Not an explosion of chaos in a single moment, but destruction stretched thin across decades. A slow, silent wave creeping through wetlands, rivers, and grasslands. Killing without hunting, conquering without fighting. In northern Australia, the invasion didn't arrive with fangs or claws. It arrived carrying poison in every single cell of its body. And once it began spreading, the pattern never changed. Predators died first. Then prey vanished. Then the entire ecosystems began hollowing out from the inside. By the time scientists understood the true scale of the disaster, the invasion had already crossed millions of square kilometers. That was the moment a hard truth became impossible to ignore. This was no longer a problem you could solve by killing adults. The only place left to fight was the future itself. In the early 1900s, sugarcane wasn't just another crop. It was the economic backbone of Queensland, responsible for over 20% of the region's agricultural value. Then came the greyback cane beetle. Its larvae fed underground, destroying sugarcane roots and slashing yields by 30 to 40% in some regions. Farmers panicked, officials scrambled, and in that desperation, Australia looked overseas. Reports from Puerto Rico claimed a large toad could control insect pests. There were no controlled trials, no dietary verification, no long-term ecological studies, just word of mouth and optimism. So in 1935, roughly 102 cane toads were imported from Hawaii and released near Gordonvale, Queensland. Every cane toad in Australia today descends from that tiny founding group. At the time, no one believed a few dozen amphibians could matter. 70 years later, they had overrun 1.3 million square kilometers. By 2026, Australia hosts an estimated 200 million cane toads, nearly 8 times the human population of the country, and roughly 20 times more numerous than all remaining koalas combined. What followed wasn't a balance. It was a collapse. Cane toads aren't just invasive, they're chemically armed. Even in their native South America, they rank among the most toxic amphibians on Earth. The difference is simple. Predators there evolved alongside them. Australia's wildlife did not. Behind the toad's head sit massive parotid glands that release bufotoxin, a lethal cocktail of cardiac toxins, neurotoxins, and blood vessel disruptors. The effects are fast and unforgiving. A dog can die within an hour just from licking one. A cane toad measuring only 15 to 20 centimeters carries enough poison to kill a freshwater crocodile, something documented repeatedly in the Northern Territory. And the danger doesn't stop at adulthood. The toxin exists at every life stage: eggs, tadpoles, juveniles, adults. Fish die after eating the eggs. Native frogs die after consuming tadpoles. Monitor lizards and snakes die after swallowing adults. Even brown snakes can collapse within 2 to 30 minutes. In some regions, freshwater crocodile populations dropped by over 70% within just a few seasons of cane toads arriving. Monitor lizards were hit even harder, declining by up to 90%. This wasn't predation. It was poisoning on an ecosystem-wide scale. The numbers expose an even darker reality. A single female cane toad lays 20,000 to 30,000 eggs per breeding event and can reproduce twice a year. That translates into billions of toxic eggs released annually. Australia's National Science Agency estimates the ecological and indirect economic damage now exceeds $2 billion, threatening industries far beyond conservation, tourism, agriculture, and even mining, an industry worth roughly $136 billion. But here's what stunned researchers. Australian cane toads are now more dangerous than the originals. A 2015 study revealed their poison glands are larger, with toxin concentrations 40 to 50% higher than those of South American populations. Between 2018 and 2022, multiple studies showed their rate of evolution was 5 to 10 times faster than that of normal wildlife. Their legs grew 6% longer, muscles strengthened, stress hormones dropped. In the 1940s, cane toads spread just 5 to 10 kilometers per year. By the 2010s, that number jumped to 40 to 60 kilometers annually, with record individuals reaching 76 kilometers per year, the fastest territorial expansion ever recorded in an amphibian. This wasn't an adaptation. It was acceleration. From a biological standpoint, the mechanism is clear. Cane toad tadpoles can only undergo metamorphosis when their bodies produce enough thyroid hormone, a biological upgrade switch that triggers leg growth, tail loss, and the move onto land. By this point, traditional control methods had failed completely. Hand collection, trapping, night hunts. Millions of toads are removed every year, with almost no impact on the population. That's when Professor Rick Shine and his team flipped the logic. If adults were unstoppable, they were no longer the target. Tadpoles, concentrated, vulnerable, and already cannibalistic, became the focus. The idea was extreme. Create tadpoles that never metamorphose, live 4 to 5 times longer, and spend their entire lives consuming cane toad eggs. Using CRISPR-Cas9, researchers disabled the gene responsible for thyroid hormone production. Each embryo, just 4 to 8 hours old, had to be injected by hand. Success rates reached 60 to 70%, but scaling remained brutally difficult. The result was unprecedented. Researchers nicknamed them Peter Pan tadpoles, a reference to their permanent juvenile state. Larger, stronger swimmers that would never grow up, never leave the water, never reproduce, and spend their entire lives consuming cane toad eggs before dying without leaving descendants. As of early 2026, all trials remain confined to enclosed ponds and artificial reservoirs in Western Australia and the Northern Territory. Australia chose caution over speed, learning from the mistake it made in 1935. Meanwhile, non-genetic methods are steadily improving. They're not miracle solutions, but they work as multiple layers of pressure against the invasion. One promising approach uses pheromone traps, which mimic the chemicals in eggs to attract tadpoles. In one test, just a single small pond successfully caught and drew in over 40,000 tadpoles in less than a week, a striking example of how effective these traps can be. Another approach targets native ants, especially meat ants, which attack cane toads at their most vulnerable stage. Newly emerged toadlets move slowly, have thin skin, and leave the water precisely when ants are most active. Field observations show that in some regions, up to 90% of young toads die within their first few days simply because they are detected and attacked by ants. The ecological risk is low, as native frogs are rarely affected. Still, ants alone cannot control the entire population, pushing researchers to explore ways to guide ant activity toward water edges where young toads are forced to pass. Predators are also being retrained. Freshwater crocodiles, once frequent victims, are now trained to avoid cane toads. They learn after tasting a specially designed bait that makes them feel sick which teaches them not to eat real cane toads, reducing deaths to almost zero. Infrastructure solutions add another layer of defense. Projects like the Dry Shield change where farm animals get water, taking advantage of the fact that cane toads cannot survive when the water dries up, helping to block their spread even further. In trials, toads without water moved just 3.3 meters over 5 days before dying. At $18 million, the plan aims to block future spread before the 2027 to 2028 wet season. No single solution will win this war. It will be fought with restraint, with precision, and with time. Nearly a century ago, Australia introduced a species to solve a problem quickly and paid the price ever since. Today, facing another irreversible decision, scientists are choosing patience over panic. Which of these methods do you think is the best way to stop the invasion of cane toads? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. It's the best way to support the channel and keep deep dives like this coming.